So I'm Scott Metzger. I'm here on behalf of a little project we're working on with Nvidia, and so this is a project that's called RISE. What we're actually trying to do is we're trying to basically allow for full CG environment creation for film, kind of after the fact, using LIDAR scanning, high-res HDR photography being painted in Mari and then rendered in V-Ray. And so one of the things that we're actually doing is we're taking large amounts of data and placing it on the new K6000 graphics card. So starting off, this is just one of 12 images that I have of this environment of a loft in downtown Los Angeles, and so this image is about 11K. The other type of image we have is we have 8K images, which are taken with a non-spherical HDR. And so with these 8K images, we have a tremendous amount of range in terms of exposure. So we're painting not just your normal 8-bit images, but we're using 16-bit images to project the data taken with the actual camera. So one of the next things that I'm actually going to do is I'll show you a little preview of this. All right, so what you're seeing right now is like a brief overview of all the scan data. So this is, millions and millions and millions of points of geometry that are kind of just being measured by this laser, this Faro 3D laser. And so what this point cloud allows us to do is to generate, really accurate models based on the scan data that we kind of clean up. So what you'll see here is this is about 50 million polygons inside of Maya's viewport with a K5000 that I'm choosing at the time. And so I'll line up all the photography to this to then be able to paint it later on. After I deal with a lot of the scan data, I'll then go in there inside of Moda and we'll kind of resurface the data. So we'll take this really crude, early, bunched up scan data, and we clean it out, doing nice clean polygons of the environment. So then what you'll see is this scan data with the low-res poly geometry that's been cleaned up. So it's a lot less in terms of memory complexity, and it's very, very clean for projection work. So going back into Mari, what we have here is that a little section of it that's been basically painted, and the key is that I'm actually using a 8K paint buffer. So I can literally take some really, really large images and use it to project on here. Let me see, we have, it's like a 4K display, so it's a little hard to see everything at once. I'm just going to pull in a frame just to kind of preview that. So, all right. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm going to basically take, I have some geometry here, and what I want to do is I want to take in and kind of add the spherical HDR. And what's so great about the spherical HDR photography is that I'm loading up in real time this 11K image. So, we have a lot of texture detail. I can not only load up this one 11K image, but I can load up about, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 of those at once. And we can then also reposition the maps in real time. So if you want to do all your alignment to your low-res geometry, we can. And what you really get out of the spherical projections is you get the photography from the location. You don't have to do any shading at all. You always have the option to do relighting of that, but it's really, really cool. And then I can selectively choose the areas that I actually want to use of this map. So if I hold my shift button down, we'll turn that off, and then I can literally just kind of go in here and just paint the high-res photography on. So it's really, really quick, and it allows for some really neat results of those actual environments. So I'm just going to clear that, and we'll turn the baked on geometry. And I can expose up and down. So we have the outside of this actual building that's been painted. The foreground are multiple 8K tiles, so that use up a lot of RAM. Right now we're at 7 gigs just viewing this. As I'm painting and kind of building this environment, I'll go up as much as 11 to 10 gigabytes of RAM. So you can see here that there's a lot of information that's painted in this environment. And if I go ahead, we can just press play. And in real time, we're just kind of previewing a camera move with all this data. One thing you'll notice is that the textures are not loading in and out. So this is pretty much some really, really serious color information that's being displayed in real time on the K6000 without any textures being swapped out. All these settings in Mari are pretty well maxed out in terms of like the limitations of texture resolution. So it's a pretty impressive feat in terms of software and hardware. And you can see we can just kind of bring up the exposure for the inside here. I can turn off the wireframe. And of course, you can then export these texture maps into any 3D render. And so what I'll do is I'll basically bring this into V-Ray. And this is just an HD render inside of V-Ray. And so what we're doing is we have the physical camera with V-Ray, all the lens effects, depth of field, motion blur of the environment. The only thing it's missing is reflections, and that's something that I'll get a chance to do at a later time, but just to add a little reflection on the posts and some of the ground from far away, just to kind of help sell it even more. So working with low-res geometry and high-res photography, you definitely do get a lot, and you know, it's really exciting to be able to try this out with the K6000. I don't think this demo would have been here for SIGGRAPH if it wasn't for the K6000 allowing me to create this, which is pretty exciting. So.